Good afternoon. This is Rich Nass, Executive Vice President of Open Systems Media, and I'm here for our weekly call with Ray Zinn, who, as you know, is the former founder and CEO of Micrel. Good afternoon, Ray. How are you today?
I'm doing great. Thanks, Rich, for asking.
My pleasure.
Okay, so
in our weekly spot, you've been giving advice to up-and-coming entrepreneurs who may be in the tech space, but this advice, as we know, works for people who are in any space. So what I'd like to talk to you about today is what are some of the faux pas that you've seen from people who thought they had, what it takes to become a CEO or a founder of a company? And these may be people who had a great idea, but somewhere along the way they just screwed up. What are some of the classic screw-ups that you've seen?
Well, thanks, Rich. We don't like to think of ourselves as screwing up, but that does happen. And, of course, it's more or less how we recover that makes a difference. And so if we attempt to make it a don't care, in other words, if you manage to recover from the mistake so that the injury is minimal or not at all, then I really don't call it a mistake. And I think as Einstein says, the biggest insanity is to repeat the same thing over and over and expecting different results. And I think that's the issue that a lot of entrepreneurs make, is that they keep doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results when that's not possible. In fact, I have a saying that goes, he who repeats the past fails in the future. So that's the problem. And I think the biggest failure or the biggest mistake I think they make is they keep repeating their mistakes. They don't learn from them.
Okay, so is there something specific you could point to, maybe from your own experience? I'm sure you've never made a mistake, but is there something that you've done in the past that you would have liked to have done differently?
Well, as I mentioned, repeating the same thing over and over, expecting different results, is the mistakes that all of us make, and I've made those too. Just because I think that someone other, maybe the time was different. It's like buying stock. You think, well, I'll buy it lower. I mean, I'll average down. And we've seen the market drop tremendously, and so we just keep hoping that someone other just repeating what we've done in the past is going to work for us in the future. But to give you an example of what I've seen is that when people go out to raise money for their business, they tend to do it in tranches. So they'll get it, like they'll have a seed round, and then they will run out of money because they're losing money. In other words, their plan says, that I'm going to lose X number of dollars per month or per quarter, and so they just raise enough money just to kind of cover them during that interim period. But because hope springs eternal, they think that maybe the next year, the next quarter or month or whatever is going to be turned profitable, and they won't have to go out and raise more money. But it's a constant round of raising money, and unless there's some way to actually make money in a short period of time, and my feeling is that if your company, if you've not raised enough money to at least get you to the point where you're going to be profitable, you're really going to spend all your time looking for money and not running your company. And so, you need to raise enough money to get you to profitability. And if you haven't done that, I wouldn't even start.
Okay, so let's talk about that subject specifically, because I know when you started Micrel, you did not go out and raise money. You did this on your own for a long time, but there did come a time when you decided that you wanted to take the company public. What changed that you decided that it was time to go public?
Well, I'd always had the thought to go public. That was always in the plan. And as you know, most venture-funded companies have a 5 to 7 year window where they want to get out. In other words, they want to either be acquired or go public. in Micrel's case, we started in '78, went public in '94, so that was 16 years before we actually went public, and I wanted to make sure that the company could be of significant size or sufficient size that the public market would accept it, and of course, I did not want the stock price to ever drop below the IPO price, like it did in the case of Twitter today. Twitter's price is below their IPO price, and I never wanted that to happen. So I want to make sure that my plan or that my visibility was such that I knew that the company would be, the stock would never drop below the IPO price, which meant I had to keep growing the company. But as I said, 16 years before I went public. And I'd already been profitable every year for 16 years, even before we went public. So I knew I could have an ongoing profitable operation, and that's what the public looks for. So we were $35 million in revenue at the time, in 1994, and we raised about, I think we raised $20-something million in the IPO offering. The company had a valuation of over $80 million at the time, which was a little less than 3 times revenue, and that's about right. So all the metrics lined up, the stars all lined up as you would, and even for the 21 years we were public, the company's price never dropped below the IPO price.
Did you ever come close?
No, never even in 2009 or even I should say 2001 when we lost half our revenue. The the stock price still remained significantly above the IPO price. 2009 was a tough point for us because the market had dropped tremendously, the stock prices had dropped tremendously, but we never got even close to the IPO price.
And when did it peak? What was the highest that it ever was?
Oh boy, that's a sad one. It peaked in September of 2000. Peak of September of 2000. We peaked at $74, and then it dropped to I think around $6 or $5 or something like that was its low point. But then it settled in around where we actually sold the company, which is around in the $13, $14 range. So, but we did drop close to $5 or $6 at one point, which is still way above the IPO price.
What caused it to go up so high, up to 74?
Well, it was that .com expansion that took place, and all stocks took off. We were growing at 67% compounded during that time period, and so the stock price just shot up because the growth of the company looked spectacular. And even though I knew in May of 2000 that the .com expansion was going to implode, which it did, in 2001. I can't go out and tell the street, hey, I see this thing rolling over. I guess I did tell the street. I did tell the analysts that were at the Morgan Stanley conference in Monterey in May of 2000. I did say that this thing's going to roll over. It rolled over a lot more than I thought, though. I thought maybe it dropped 15%, and it dropped a lot more than that. So, it rose up like everybody else. And then of course when it imploded, we saw our business fall in half, and stock price fell with it.
There you go. Okay, well, that's all we have time for this week. That was Ray Zinn. He is the former founder and CEO of Micrel. He's also the author of a great book that's called Tough Things First. And this is Rich Ness with Open Systems Media. Hope you have a great day, Ray.
Thanks a lot, Rich.